Okay. Okay, so again, welcome everyone. And my name is Bonnie Peters, and I'm with the CVC OEI Students Experience Division. And I'm going to have my colleagues, Jessica and Karen, introduce themselves. Karen, do you mind starting? Or Jessica, either one.
Oh, you wanted me? I'm sorry. I
Oh,
thought you
no,
said
either
Jessica.
one. Yeah, I'm just looking at how
Okay.
it's listed.
I'll go first then.
Okay.
Hi, folks. I'm Karen Turpin. My full-time job's over at Miracosta College. I'm also an instructional designer support person for the OEI CVC. And I helped build the technical side of this hub and pull it together. And I'm here as the technical contact.
Great.
Awesome. So
Jessica?
hi everyone, I'm Jessica Hurtado and I also work for the CVC OEI. I'm a program supervisor, and so I work closely with the CVC OEI ecosystem tools, which includes ConnectEd, online tutoring, all of that. So this is really a key component when it comes to the online student support hub. So I'm here to answer any general questions regarding student services, online student services, and student support tools.
Okay, great. Thank you guys. Okay, so let's get straight into it. So a couple of things I wanted to note. We're student experience, which is basically student services in terms of helping, well, our job is to help the colleges, help the system in this case, based on what is going on, to really help you all figure out how to provide quality online student support services to your students, especially now, because basically right now we're all online. So it's really important that you do this, and it's really important that you do it well. And so we're here to be of assistance to you in any which way, or any way we can. And these webinars that we've been having for a variety of things, you know, we're working on the student services side of things, but I have colleagues working on instructional side of things. We have a lot of webinars available. So what I did was I linked the cvc.edu events calendar to here. You guys can copy that link, and you will see the list of webinars that we have coming up in the next month or so, both for student services and as well as instruction. So it's just, I thought that would be important for you to, if you don't already know that, you can see where we have these types of webinars. Okay, so getting straight into it, our goal, what is our goal today? We're really focusing on helping you all build a viable online student support services hub, and doing that within Canvas. Okay, for a few months now, some of your colleges have been building out hubs with our assistance, and we've provided documentation, which you'll see. We've developed documentation in terms of like a step-by-step guide in terms of how to do this and to do this well. And you'll see some of that as we go into it. It requires some technical pieces and some other pieces, and we'll kind of go over some of that in a minute. But really, when we think about what is happening now, it was needed before, right? But when we think about what is happening now, it's absolutely needed even more than ever. And the reason it's needed, it seems like such a simple thing, I think, but the reason it's really needed is that if students need to access your services in an online environment, they really should be able to do this in an easy, stress-free way. It should be able to go into that, walk into that virtual building and find those services. And the fact that students are going to Canvas to access their courses, Canvas works as the perfect platform for students to get at that student services hub. And so you'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, so let's talk about that immediate need that I was just mentioning. The point of access needs to be easy. For us and for students at this point in time within the California Community College system, that point of access is Canvas. Right now, our instructors and our students are learning Canvas, right? Those who are already in the online environment, they're already engaged in using Canvas. And now we have all these potentially new online students who have been moved very quickly into that online space. And we have some new instructors who have been moved very quickly into that online space. And Canvas being that point, we also wanted students to find a space that they're becoming familiar with, but they can also find their student services point of access in that same space. So the student point of space needs access point needs to be very easy and doable. They don't need any additional challenges when trying to get at your services in the online environment. The installation of creating or putting your hub together needs to be an easy technical installation. Well, Canvas is already there. The hub is about pulling services together in one spot. And it's the tools that we work with primarily in the CVC OEI, all are required to have a Canvas integration. And it's a very easy integration. Some of the tools you will be working with would be already existing tools that you are using, and we'll talk about that too in terms of what tools and why and all of that. But those can easily be brought into the hub via Canvas as well, based on our experience with some of the other colleges that we've worked with. The access must be seamless. We've talked about that. And most importantly, with the hub, what makes this different from thinking about, well, if I have my services already on my website, why am I creating a hub? First of all, putting your services on your website is what means students are accessing various websites for various services. And while that's not a big task, it's not as simple as going to one point and getting the services. But more importantly, a website is not action oriented. A website does not focus on action. A website is about information. It usually goes into text and things like that. And so I want to kind of show you what I mean by going directly into an example of the hub. We've worked with MiraCosta, and so we've been able to access their hub and use it to demonstrate. And then I'll talk about what I mean when I say action-oriented services. So let me do this. This is what the hub looks like, but I'm going to it live in MiraCosta. So this is MiraCosta's hub. MiraCosta was one of the first schools who worked with us and to sort of pilot the hub to help develop what the concept of the hub would look like and how do you set these tools up. One of the things you will note is that on there, I'm on there. I went one step further. Let's go back to here. Here's their homepage. There we go. So here's the homepage set up with all the various services that they're offering in their hub. So they have library, tutoring, their writing center, counseling center, career center, help desk, and I know they're currently working on getting some of the other services up. You will note their help desk card is right on the front page, right off the bat. And right now it's live. They're using ConnexEd, and we'll talk about the services and what platforms you can use to make this hub a very viable hub. We strongly recommend for any area, and we'll go over the different departments, any area that is going to be in the hub, if you don't have a platform that offers live, real-time, synchronous type services, the ConnexEd Student Services platform can fill that gap. So we strongly recommend it. And what you find with MiraCosta, their help desk was a place where they used it, and that sort of a bit transformed how things worked with them. With the help desk in a very short space of time. So really, if I were to click on, let's say, library services, for instance, I want to give you an example of where they're using their own two existing tools. And I'm going to break down this to explain the action-oriented services to you in a minute. But the library services at MiraCosta is not using ConnexEd. They already had an existing platform. They're part of a library consortium, and they already have their live chat 24/7. They Ask Their Librarian feature, and they didn't need to switch to using ConnexEd because they had an existing platform that was providing a service, one that ConnexEd couldn't do because they don't do 24/7 consortium library chat, but they didn't need to switch. So I'm saying this to let you guys know that we're going to be recommending the ConnexEd platform and some other tools for tutoring and other services that we, through CVC OEI and the Chancellor's Office, has been bringing to the system. But if you have a viable existing option for your library and some of the other services, we're not asking you to switch. I want to kind of make that really clear. We're asking you, when you don't have something, to use the platform that is designed to provide the services. So This one is a perfect, I like choosing the library at MiraCosta because what I'm going to go through here is the action services. So let me point out what I mean by that. You're going to see when I say action services, let's switch back here. This might be easier to look at it from the PowerPoint, okay? Let's say, let's go back to here. Okay, so that's the hub. The action services that I'm talking about is creating an app experience. And I'll come back to that library picture in a minute so you can put the two together. But I wanted to present the words to you so you can see what I'm talking about. We're trying to create, with a hub, an app experience. When you think about what an app, what you do with apps and what you do with a website, you'll see the difference in terms of what is needed within your hub. With a website is about gathering and providing information, sharing information. Your website will talk about, they'll have pictures of your staff, they'll have hours of operation, they'll have some information about the services offered, and all of that is valuable and needed, but that's not task oriented. So the app experience, when you think about what you do with an app, you usually go to task. You schedule an appointment, you sign up to talk to someone, you start a chat, you play a game, it's all action oriented, and that's what is needed for the students in the hub. When a student goes into the hub, right, and I'll go back one step, right. When a student goes into the hub, the first thing they see in Canvas in their course dashboard on the side of the navigation is Student Support Hub, right? They see that. So imagine a student walking into their Canvas environment. They're there attempting to submit assignments, take care of their class. And at the same time, they remember they need to make an appointment with a counselor. They'll click on the Student Support Hub and they can click on counseling, right? Counseling at MiraCosta has broken out their services to be, chat with an advisor, make an appointment, veteran counseling. So when they do that, they've listed all their cards. Their advisor is online at this point, but the student can begin chatting. It's service. It's immediate. It's an action. It's not about, here's information about how we do counseling, right? So that's what we're talking about when we say it should perform a task. Right? The user experience needs to be stress-free, stress-free access to real-time services. I mentioned that before. The user interface, the platform, in this case, Canvas, should be easy to use and, if possible, familiar. Canvas has become very familiar to most of our students, and the ones that are now getting familiar because they're all moving to the online environment, they're getting familiar with it. So when the platform is familiar, if a student is at one college and then decides to take a class at another college within our system, guess what? It's the same platform. Now the hub might look slightly different because each college is going to put their own branding, may lay out their services slightly differently. But the fact is the student would have a familiarity with the platform in terms of accessing the services. And then the last piece about the app experience is really about good use of text. Right? Text should be concise and purposeful to the service. And let me show you what I mean. So here's a picture of the library service at MiraCosta that you were seeing live. For instance, so here's the platform, the student services support in Canvas, right? But here's a good use of text. What if you guys are paying attention, you'll note that there are just a few things on this page, but all of the text on this page have a purpose. So you have where Ask a Librarian, if they clicked on that, it opens the chat, the student gets real-time service. So the text is necessary, it's important, right? It's not a whole set of words that are just information-based, but not action-oriented. And then one of the other parts of that is action-oriented and good use of text, because this is a library service, the students can search for books and articles. That's an action they need to do in the online environment, and the text needs to say that to them. It's not a paragraph describing how to search, what to do when you search. One search, we've all been living in the internet age. Everyone knows what a search bar looks like. You just need to put the right amount of information so that it's intuitive, and bam, they can search. Then in the library service, they later now show at the bottom, learn how to cite, learn to access database, visit the library. So now they've put here, if you were on campus, if you're going to campus, here are hours on campus. So that's at the bottom, and it makes it really simple. And that links to the web page on your website. So the first set of action that you see are all action, our first set of services, all action oriented. Okay. And then anything that is really, really text-based or information-based is at the bottom, still within the frame, right? And simply saying, here's where you can find that information. So the student does not have to focus on trying to sift through information to get at an action, at some form of action or task. And so that is the absolute basis of the hub, that you need to create an app experience. If you just simply brought in all of your websites in one space, it's just overwhelming. And you're still having students sift through the sites. We're looking for synchronous services. These are all action-based services. And really now with everyone being in the online environment, students and staff alike, it's all synchronous type related services you're providing in some form or the other, okay? All right, so now let's talk about who can be in the hub. And I've listed here, and I've sort of created two categories. This list is not finite. You know your campus exists, you know what services you may or may not want to put in your hub that you want to make available to students. So this is not like these are the only ones that can be in there. What we're trying to do here is show you what is possible, and then you can think about what more is possible with some additional services. The key here, and I'm going to show you in a minute, the key here is to know what platform fits the activities and services that you can provide in the online environment, and basically take tasks that you do now at the campus and translate them into the online environment. So let me go here and show you what I mean. Okay, so and I'll explain in a minute what this whole document is. This is where you're going to find a lot of the documentation. This is available to you. We're making that available to you so you can set up your hub. But Karen will go into some of this in a little more detail. But I wanted to focus on the recommended services. So those services that I showed on the slide, we're showing you which platform can meet the needs of that particular office based on what we know those offices do that can be translated into synchronous services. So for instance, an admissions and records office, there are a lot of uploading of documents, right? When you're trying to prove residency and things like that. The ConnexEd service can provide virtual lobby service. So to replicate your front desk staff meeting students, or students coming up to your front desk staff to ask questions, and live chat does the same thing. And then you have virtual appointments, which definitely is possible for students to be able to make an appointment with someone more in the future, and not as immediate as knocking on the doors of the Cranium Cafe card to provide services in that moment. We recommend using the Cranium Cafe ConnexEd platform, because that platform is designed to provide students services in the online environment. It allows for privacy. It's FERPA, HIPAA compliant. It's structured as if someone is walking into an online counseling or admissions office, so that you're not sort of piecing things together. You're not emailing students back and forth. You're not having students call you on the phone. You're working with them in a virtual environment. Same thing with financial aid, right? And then we added even more virtual workshops, because ConnexEd platform has classrooms that allow for the virtual workshops, financial aid workshops. So the same thing. Again, if you have other services that you think can fit that, you absolutely would be able to do that. Now, here's a service that the ConnexEd platform would not provide, but I don't know of a college at this point in time that doesn't already have an online bookstore, so students can purchase their books and materials, right? The piece of that you would bring into the hub would really be you're bringing in the ability to buy and purchase. So that link that allows the student to log in and buy, that's the link that you would bring into the online bookstore. help desk. So I won't go through the entire list, but this link, and Jessica, or I think can make this link available in the chat, is available to you as part of the whole package of documents that we are making available to you all, so that you'll know how to set up your hub. So we have, I should mention we have, for us, with tutoring centers and writing centers, one of the platforms that we work with, one of the vendors that we work with, is LSI, NetTutor, and we recommend, on Pisces, their whiteboard, we strongly recommend using that platform to provide these services within your hub. So yeah, we're not limited. You're not limited to the services that I have on here, but this is to get you thinking. We have the health and wellness, and when you think about health centers, especially now, providing service, using that ConnectEd general, virtual walk-in services, or making an appointment. While health services can't physically treat someone in the online environment, I can only imagine some of the anxiety some of the students might be going through right now with what is going on, and being able to talk to your health practitioner on the campus in an appointment can be reassuring. So health services can easily provide some well-needed services in this time through the virtual services using the ConnectEd platform. So I wanted you to think about areas that you may not have thought of and how you can do that. If you have chat bots on your website, have a link to that in your hub space. So think about those things when you're building your hub, in terms of bringing your staff together and asking which services should be in the hub. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Karen to go through what I was looking at, that link I was looking at, to kind of explain some of where the documentation is and what that is all about. As Karen mentioned earlier, for those of you who weren't and came in when she introduced herself, Karen has been the person who has done a lot of the technical creating the technical documentation for building the hub. And when we worked with MiraCosta, she was the person who worked at MiraCosta actually building their hub, and did a great job. And so she's worked with us to really put that documentation together, and that's what we will be providing you so that you can create your own hub. So Karen, do you want me to stop sharing and you'll share?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
Let me go ahead and go to sharing. And there we go. All right. Okay, so for the Canvas implementation, I've been already putting some of these links, if you've noticed in the chat. If you want to review the hub template, that is something that is available for you to review, and this is pretty much what she had. For some reason I'm missing an icon there, but it's okay. There it goes. What it is in the ecosystem course, which is right here, is in the ecosystem course, which I had put out the URL in the chat. If you were in the front of the ecosystem course, the Student Support Hub Guide, and all of the documents are there. And so you can see the things that I will be showing you. So I had just showed you the template, which was actually number 4, reviewing the template. You can take a look at that template and actually, there it is, get a chance to go through and as Bozzy was just showing you, the different areas, you can see what this template is. Now, those of you who would like to get started with this template, in our ecosystem support course, we have, let me just minimize that. We have right there on the front, we have the directions on how to download the template from Commons. So there is some directions there for getting that template for Commons. When you download it from Commons, you're actually downloading the actual course. You get all of the code that goes with it, so you can start using that to build your student hub. And it's also code that we've built if that code for some reason fits into some other area at your college as well. You're welcome to use that. The step-by-step, we have step-by-step instructions as well. If you are on this page here as well, in the Commons, there is the technical support guide in here, and I already have that open, which you can, here's the technical support guide. And this is something that you can give to your technical contact at the college, and they can follow it through. As you can see, step 1, step 2, step 3. I go through every one of the steps on how to get that student support hub. Now, first of all, you're going to download it from Commons, get it on your computer, but then how to set it up within your system. How to put it in, how to get it so that you stay with student privacy, so they're not messaging each other. And as you can go through this, when you download it, you'll see there's permissions and things like that. So this is something you can give to your technical contact at your college for Canvas, and they can go through step by step on how to do these and how to get it in that navigation menu on the left, as Bonnie showed you. That's something that really is helpful for your students, recommendations on how to enroll students, or whether or not you're just going to make a public or institution and so forth. So that all is on here in this document for you. And then the last thing that I wanted to show you in here, one of the things that we found as a communication benefit, and especially right now with what's happened, is when we have the Student Hub, we are able to post announcements in there. And in MiraCosta, we actually have all of our students enrolled. So when we are posting an announcement out there, whether it's about COVID-19 or any of this other information that's going out, we're right now building additional services for the Hub. We're able to get that information out there for our students through this. There's an announcement that it shows up when they come in Canvas. It actually, if they turn notifications on, it's gone out to them as well. Looking at this page as well, as you saw, there's through here, I have a couple other things to help you get started in there. And this document here, the Student Hub Readiness Checklist, that's something you can download. So as you're obviously building it, you're trying to think of the things, as Bonnie mentioned, you want actionable for each of your areas. You have a Student Hub Readiness Checklist where you're going through phase 1, your analysis and exploring, phase 2, reviewing the business practice and continued training, and there's a soft launch in phase 3, and then phase 4 is go live. Obviously, with what's happened in the world right now, there's several of my areas that are going from phase 1 to phase 4 within a week here, within the 2 weeks. I mean, that can certainly happen as you evaluate their services, as you're bringing them into ConnectEd and getting those services online. But you can use this, of course, as a guide to help those people, give this to them, to help those people to at least think about, okay, so what are we doing? What are we going to, bring online, and how are we going to do it? And then these are the tasks as well that are available in there that as you go through and how to, basically, usually we have a larger timeline on going live. And again, that's up to your school. But as you go through, you can use that as your timeline as well. So everything is out here on there. So you could give this to your technical support contact. they could download the documents, download the Commons, install it. I'm available for, just if something goes wrong on the technical documents, for a quick chat, to go review any of that. If something just didn't quite click. So I'll hand it back to Bonnie.
Okay, great. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. It's really, really important, you guys, that when you are, I'm not quite sure who's in the room, if it's all student services or if it's student services and your Canvas administrators. And so it's really important that if it's your student services here right now, and then you're connecting, you want to do this, that you need to talk directly with your Canvas administrators. So when we're saying you do this, if you're the student services person and you're not a Canvas person, we're not saying you have to do it, right? We're saying you need to work with your Canvas administrator and make that happen. And the information has been fairly straightforward. And I know some of the colleges, Karen, do you mind kind of explaining how it's been received by some of the colleges who's been using it and what has been their experience? Just a little bit.
Oh, I've seen a couple of people. I've gone to it, and it's like, wow, they've used the template. They've installed it, and they've gotten their services going. I've seen different renditions of it. It's been pretty amazing. As most of our technical contacts have gone through the guide and have been able to come up just follow the guide and they're there, you know, and it just has to be independent to your college. And
yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share and continue. We have just a few more slides and then we should be, you know, into more questions. So please take a look. What Karen noted, the checklist and the hub task list, those are really, really important to keep you moving. And, you know, it's interesting, when we did this, we were doing this at the pace of, you know, as a school gradually moves on, you know, gets their services on. And right now we're working with all of you who I can only imagine it's like get my services online today, right? Because we want to serve students. So when you take a look at the checklist, that checklist is perfectly still makes sense and fits in, but you might want to alter it to change your timelines, right? But you do need that checklist. You do need, and let me just quickly kind of bring it up again. You do need, oh, sorry, that's not it. Where do I have it? Here we go. You do need, and maybe not so much the analysis and exploration phase because you're there, right? But you do
you
need,
need to, yes, you were there.
right? But you do need technology analysis, taking a look at, a lot of you are now implementing ConnectEd as that primary tool. You need to do a quick inventory of the existing tools. So like, what do we have at the library? What do we have at the bookstore? What are we using? So that it's not chaotic, so to speak. Right. So part of this in that task list that we have a sample of a template of the task list, one of those tasks are really meeting with your different area, meeting with your student services persons who are interested in being in the hub right away and finding out what they're using. Right. So it's really important that you take a look at the checklist. It does guide you. And I think even more so now, because you're trying to get this done in an orderly fashion in a very quick time frame. And if you have a structured path to follow, then it makes it so much easier. Of course, each school is different, so you tweak it to match your needs. But this is just simply a guide that would allow you to really kind of stay on track with it and do it in a quick time frame, right? So reviewing the business practices is kind of important. Continued training. Well, continued training is ongoing training and you would need to do that. We don't know how long we're in this space, but people are trying to get trained in droves right now on the different platforms in terms of providing services. So while at one point you might have had maybe 3, 4, 5 counselors who were providing online counseling, now you're getting kind of my entire department, can EOPS, can all of the departments get trained at once. So those are part of the design when you're talking about what do I need to do. So don't dismiss the checklist or the task list because it has been really very helpful in moving things forward. Okay. And last, to be honest, the last thing I did want to talk to you guys about is where do you create the access? Now, I know we talked about, you'll see the navigation on the side in Canvas, and you will. That's our main place in terms of where you put the hub, because it's a hub, right? So when students go into their Canvas account, they should see this turn up at every, within every course in the navigation. So that's the key. That's what we want. But you can also take a link from that. You can link the hub directly to your student services pages or directly to your home college website page. So what you're saying to students when they enter your website, it's like, we have live support services. Because remember right now, when they enter your website, they're seeing the text-based website. And I'm not sure, I haven't looked at everybody's web pages, but I'm sure right now, I'm not quite sure if you've been updating those pages to match what is happening, meaning like, okay, now counseling is online, as opposed to you can make a counseling appointment on campus and things like that, right? So if you simply build your hub in Canvas, and then you link that to your page, the student will get to the Canvas login and they'll be right back in it. So that goes back to that whole piece about easy access and use, as opposed to a whole set of text explaining it and linking it there. But be aware that the idea is that it's linked, it's a course in Canvas, it's a shell in Canvas, it's built in Canvas, and then you can use that link to link in and have students get access. Okay. Okay, and that is the bulk of the presentation at this point. What I would like to say is I'll open it up for questions. You can add some more questions to the chat. I'll take a look and see if there's any questions that came up that didn't get answered, or if you're now thinking about some questions. On the CVC OEI side of things, you can contact me if you want more information about the hub. Jessica works with us in student experience, and she can focus a lot on the tools. So as we talk about, and we can talk about, you can ask me those things as well, but Jessica can give you a lot of information about the tutoring tools, counseling, the working with the vendors, any of the other ecosystem tools, that link that we provided where you can see the ecosystem. You'll see what we offer as a platform to the system from CVC OEI. So as many of you are probably already using some of these services, which is fine. If you want to know more, if you want to know what has changed in the last few weeks in terms of updating information, Jessica is able to provide that information. And Karen will also be able, as she mentioned, if you have any problems or need some clarity around the technical documentation, Karen will be able to answer those questions for you guys. But based on what she shared, it's really a fairly straightforward process when your Canvas administrator is getting it implemented, if they follow the steps. Yes, because of each college having their own uniqueness, there might be some questions like, well, if we did it this way, like one of the things that I don't think is an issue anymore that came up was prior to our current situation, some colleges who were part of a multi-campus district, but all of the colleges were not implementing the hub. How would that work if they were one district and using one Canvas account? Well, I think that is no longer an issue. If every college within the district is going online, having a hub works for them. But those are some of the kind of unique questions that were coming up. So I will open it up for questions, see if there's any questions that need to be responded to. And let me see. Let's see. Okay, did you guys catch the questions or?
Yeah,
okay, great.
Jessica. So yeah, most of the questions were answered. I think there was just one question specifically about Canvas, but
okay.
I did that. But now we have one more. Erika Ruiz. At the moment, the experts are overtaxed with moving things online. What would you suggest for college that don't have this set up but would like to move forward in this avenue?
So this is what I would say, Erica. As they're moving things online, when you say things, are you talking about they're moving their student services, or are they focusing right now in terms of moving the classes that were not online? The reason I'm saying that is because if it's about the classes, then I think it's about trying to get time where you can get a sort of parallel service happening. If it's about they're moving their student services online, I think then it's ideal where you can kind of be part of that conversation to say, hey, as we're bringing on ConnectEd for counselors, can we also get that into the hub? So it's just you bring it on, and then you work on the hub, right? So it's kind of part of the process. And it truly, and as Canvas administrators would most likely be able to speak to it, what Karen has put together in the documentation, it truly isn't a difficult thing. It's not like something like, what is this? I don't know how to do this and someone has to teach me. It's just the nuances of it, and we didn't want them having to figure it out, right? Because we figured it out. So it should not be that difficult. So if it's about them right now moving their classes, you may have to set up okay, where next type of thing, right? Or can we get a simultaneous or parallel service? You talk to them. If it's actually their student services stuff, I think you just jump in with, this is how we want it done. So it's not just, could we put this on and link it to the website? Because they're working on it anyway. So that's what I would suggest. And I know they're overtaxed, but really helping them structure how we're doing it, because I do feel that because of what has happened, we're all sort of scrambling, but we can still do this in an orderly fashion. And I think you just have to introduce that thought to the process. Okay, hopefully that helped. Okay, if you already have started a Canvas shell for specific student service, would we simply try? Yeah, that's what I would say. And if you are going to pursue, this is to Michelle Scherer, if you're going to pursue the hub idea. I don't know how you were doing the Canvas shell with a specific student service, but I would strongly encourage the idea of it being the app experience and not a whole set of the webs, you know, texts and stuff like that. So it gives you a chance to take a look at what you were seeing there, and bring it into the hub. But I would encourage that. Just think about it from a student standpoint. Just give them one place to go, right? So, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Let me see. Did I miss anything?
Okay, one more question
Okay.
just came up.
All right. Okay.
How
How
to
to
put
put,
publishers' resources as a link at the menu, hub idea.
okay, is that a technical idea? Is that for Karen? How to put publishers' resources a link at the menu hub idea? Are you talking about how we got it into the navigation in Canvas?
Those on the left-hand side, like PISAs, those are LTIs that are in our system. So we have NetTutor from the CVC, and so those are the things that and PISAs are the two that are enabled currently on that left-hand side. So they were installed by the campus admin globally, and I just enabled them on the navigation that shows up on the left. So if it is something like that.
Yeah, you remember at the beginning I mentioned that the tools that we work with, we when we contract with a vendor, because we know Canvas is the system, is the LMS for the system, the CMS for the system, we tend to work with vendors where we can have a natural integration into Canvas for our services. And so any one of the services that we're using, that's another reason why we strongly encourage, where you don't have an existing service, use the platform that we're providing, because one, it makes it a lot easier to get these things integrated into what you are currently using. And so that's true of NetTutor and Pisces, and which is part of LSI. It's true of eventually for instructors, Proctorio. It's true of ConnexEd and any other tool that we're using. So it's part of just easy part of integration. Okay, a question not related to Create and Shell, but will a hub automatically added to the students page without having to accept? Yeah,
If you have them install it, I mean, if you have if you load all your students like we do at MiraCosta, then they will automatically, when they log onto Canvas, they will have that course. But you will have to enroll them in it. If you don't enroll the students in that course through like your student information system integration, which can be something you even just upload the files to, then they would have to click on that button on the left-hand side.
Okay.
So
okay,
it is possible, and that is how we do it here. And most of the people that have gone with the hubs that I'm aware of have went ahead and enrolled their students.
Yeah, and just the last point to that point, really, before that was kind of like a choice, how do we do it? Now if all your students have to be in the online environment, it's not even a question. You need to enroll your students automatically so that it's available. So okay, so we are actually at time, and so I want to thank everyone, and thanks Karen and Jessica for being helpful and helping answer those questions for me as I was presenting. And again, take a look at the resources. You can also take a look at the events page. You'll see some webinars coming up on ConnexEd, some on LSI in terms of tutoring. There's some on Proctorio. There's some other stuff. There's instructional. There's a lot of stuff that we're trying to make available to you all in the system so you can get information and get the right contact to help you move forward as you guys are working really hard to make this happen. So thank you very much and have a great day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.